Hi, I'm Tim with Student Athlete World Tours, and I just wanted to share with you my story and my background and why I'm such a big believer in international travel. Of course, international travel is not cheap and it's hard to do, but in my opinion, it's one of the most valuable things you can do in your lifetime, especially for a young student, young athlete. So I wanted to give you my story of how I got into this business and how international travel had an effect on my life, and hopefully you could see some similarities in your lives as well. So I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. Really just wanted to be a high school basketball coach and high school teacher. Didn't really have any interest in travel, never really thought about it, didn't really see myself as the type of person that would be backpacking through Europe or involved in really anything other than living in Wisconsin and coaching high school basketball. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with living in Wisconsin and coaching high school basketball. I just know now as rolling in on 40, I know that that's not the career path or the job that would have worked for me. But I didn't know that until I got to experience the things in my life that led me to where I am today. So anyway, so when I went to college, I went to college to a school in Chicago, out of state, but still pretty close to home. But it was a lot of kids from the East Coast and a lot of kids from big cities, and it wasn't anywhere where I felt comfortable. It just wasn't a place for me as grew up in a small town, played sports, that kind of thing. So it didn't work out for me, and I transferred to a local, regional, four-year college in Wisconsin where I finished my undergraduate degree. And I had a good time there. It was a great experience for me, and it really was probably the right place for me to go to college. It wasn't until I think my junior year of college, my sister was a senior in college, and she did a study abroad for a semester um, in Spain. And she was the type of person that would do that sort of thing. I think she had actually done a study abroad in high school in Australia, and so when she did that in Spain, my mom took me on my spring break to go on like a 7-day trip or a 10-day trip to Spain. And this was probably 1999. And that was the very first time I left the country. And it was a cool trip. I mean, it was, nothing super exciting happened on the trip other than I just was exposed to Spain. And we also went to Portugal, and I remember renting a car and driving through the hills of western Spain. And it was just fascinating to me. And again, nothing really that exciting happened on the trip other than hanging out with my sister, hanging out with my mom. It's just being there, just being in that environment, seeing something that was just so crazy to me. All the food was in a different language. Driving the car was interesting because the roads were different. Every single thing about it was just different. And I really think if I look back on it, maybe that was the catalyst for me to then want to do the next step in my career, which was the next summer, take a job working in New York for the summer, which was a sleepaway camp, which was a basketball thing and experience. And it was like 8 or 10 weeks away from home. And all my friends were staying home, hanging out, enjoying their summer as a 20-year-old. I think I turned 21 that summer. And I wasn't there, and I didn't do it, and I went out and kind of did my own thing, and that experience, while was challenging for me to be away from home and be away from what was comfortable, led me to the next step, which was to go to Texas to go to grad school. And again, those were some years where I missed out on a lot of things back home, what was comfortable, what was easy. But I really worked hard when I was in grad school to get a free education, and again, the passion that the leadership that I gained, the confidence in myself that I gained from going on an international trip, making the decision to go to New York for the summer, led me to be comfortable to reach out to every single Division III college in the country to try to get an assistantship or GA paid for. And I reached out to every single school, and I had a couple options, and I chose to go to Texas for 2 years. It was that experience that led me to become a college coach. That was my first college coaching job. That gave me the confidence to move to North Carolina, to move to Nebraska. And those experiences during my college career led me to start Student Athlete World, because I had the experience as a college coach, which then led me into this business. And then it all circled back to, when I was a college coach, I got to do some trips and really got into international travel. When another company hired me to contract me as a coach to come and go on trips and everything. And I really got a passion for international travel. So when I think back to it, I can really trace my life path back to that first experience. And maybe if my sister, wasn't confident enough in herself to go to Spain for the semester, I wouldn't have ever had a chance to go to Spain, and then I never go and take all these steps down the road. You never can truly be certain what experience leads to the other one, but for me, I can really trace it back to that. Now, I wouldn't be happy, I don't think, if I would have stayed in Wisconsin and been a high school basketball coach. I'm not saying that's not the right job for anybody, or that I'm better than anyone that is doing that right now. It's just not for me, and that's, I think, what international travel does, is help you find out who you are and really look at yourself and help you gain confidence for whatever that next step is for you. Frankly, I wanted to be a high school basketball coach because that's who I was around. My dad was a high school basketball coach. I, obviously played the sports around my high school basketball coaches, but I wasn't around anybody that traveled internationally when I was young. So I never really thought about, I want to be, I wasn't around doctors and lawyers, so I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. So I really feel that as a parent, now I'm a parent with 2 kids, and I really feel that each kid is their own unique person, and it takes a while to figure out who you are and what you're good at and what you like and what you don't like. As I said, I'm rolling in on 40, and I'm still now figuring out what I am like and what things I'm good at and what things I'm not good at. And that is for me, has been a 40-year process. And if I'm speaking to the parents now, I think for your students and your athletes, anything you can do to help them figure out who they are, and what they're good at and what they're going to be successful in, the earlier the better. If I look back and I had an opportunity maybe to travel internationally as a 16-year-old, maybe I would have been more experienced, more ready for college. And I got a good opportunity to go to a really good college in Illinois on a pretty decent scholarship. And I can remember hanging out with the people there, and I'm like, I am a small town Joe from Wisconsin, and I just wasn't ready for that. So I think, had I had some opportunities to be more ready for those steps in college, I would have maybe been better in college. Or had I had a career plan earlier to set out to do certain things, that would have been advantageous for me. So parents, I would urge you, if you're really thinking about, obviously I know you love your kids and want to do what's best for them. There's a financial commitment to send your kid overseas, of course. But, if you really look at the amount of money you spend on sending your kid to another AAU tournament or another club tournament every weekend, and all of the expenses that lead to their athletic development, what really is going into their emotional development and what really is going into their personal, professional development, I think is just as important, more important. I would argue probably one of the most important things you can do for your athlete is help prepare them to be an adult. That essentially is the role, of parents, and that's what, we all are working on every day to help your kid progress and grow. And I really hope you consider an international tour. If it's something that's scary, or if it's something that you just maybe you don't know anyone that's done it, and so you wouldn't think about it, and you're still watching this, then please call us and let me talk to you about it. Let me explain how it goes, and maybe even hook you up with some of our past travelers who have done it, can tell you how what their experience has been like. But I love it. I'm super passionate about international travel. I think it's one of the most powerful things you can do in your lifetime. And if you're a parent and you haven't traveled before, this would be a great opportunity to travel with your son or daughter, and you can go and grow in your life as well, because we're all still growing and evolving no matter how old we are. So I strongly encourage you to check out international travel, and if you are going to travel internationally, come with us, because you're going to have an awesome time. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.